Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe, Nile Scala here with Crowdfunding Comics. And we have another exciting episode tonight, guys. And unfortunately, our good pal Billy Tucci is setting up for San Diego Comic-Con and therefore won't be joining with us tonight. And guys, if you're going to be attending San Diego Comic-Con, make sure to check him out. He's at booth 1801. Bug him, harass him, buy all the great stuff he has. And more importantly, I have a great guest co-host tonight and an awesome guest for the show tonight. So let me introduce my co-host tonight, Mr. Adam Post. How we doing, my friend?
Great. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm freaking pumped. We got a great guest tonight. And, what's awesome, too, is me and you get to meet and get to co-host a show.
Yeah, and it's nothing like taking the spot, just for one night of the full speed Billy Tucci. Half speed Billy Tucci is happy to do that. And, I got that nickname being on EVS's show because I talk like Billy Tucci, but not quite as fast. So the chat said, that guy sounds like Billy Tucci, but he's like half the speed. So I got to live with that now, but I like it.
That's not a bad name. I like it.
It's good. Tucci's a good name.
Tucci's a good name. Tucci's a good guy. And
going to DMV tomorrow, and I'm going to be on his insurance too.
There you go.
Well, let's talk about this incredible guest.
Yeah, so let me get to it. So welcome, Crowdfunding Centurions and Crusaders, where we are broadcasting on the East Coast. This is our 35th episode of Crowdfunding Comics. Our guest tonight is joining us from the mighty state of Texas, where he has casted some lightning bolt spells on wicked creatures, slashed those who dabbled in dark magic, and scouring the globe for hidden secrets. Guys, this is awesome. Congrats, man. He has a great Indiegogo going on, so let me do it. Let me say it. Welcome, Mr. Wyatt Holliday. Wyatt, how are we doing today, my friend?
Hey, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, man, it's going great.
Dude, so congratulations. Your Indiegogo, you got 15 days left. You're halfway to the goal. This is great. How has it been so far?
Man, it's been a lot of fun. Things are going well. Got a lot of support. A lot of people are excited. We're just rolling strong, man.
Rolling strong. You're hitting the shows. You're hitting the social media. I believe, Adam, you guys were on a show recently, weren't you?
We were on another show just the other day, and it's an amazing community of people who are into comics now, that are crowdfunding, that are independent publishers. I first did my first independent publishing like 30 years ago. We put out one comic in the black and white boom, and then had to take a few years off while things recovered in the comic industry. But there's so many people publishing comics now, thanks to not just your channel, but just crowdfunding in general. So I was in a group with Wyatt, and there was just one show, there was like 6 of us. Everybody's self-publishing. And Wyatt's book is cool. I like Wyatt. Obviously, he's a stylish guy. You can see from his picture.
Oh, yeah. Make sure that tie's straight.
The girl's beautiful. Wyatt, I'm going to turn it over to, of course, Niall, but we got to talk about your book, man. It's very cool.
Yeah, but first and foremost, let's get to know you, man. I'd love to know, your origin story. How did you get, when did you first get into comics? Tell me the whole path from, childhood to, where you are today.
My mother taught me how to read using comics. I was 3 years old, believe it or not. I started with Spider-Man, Hulk, especially those two. I did branch out a little as I got older. Always was into comics growing up. A friend of mine introduced me to the X-Men when the Mutant Massacre storyline was going on, so I really got into X-Men about that time. I got into Walt Simonson Thor after that.
Oh, yeah.
And, and then, the 90s came, and I was probably, I was a teenager at the time. So just about anything and everything in the 90s was cool. So, I spent a lot of money on that for a teenager. And, and since then I've read off and on. I dip out for a little while, and then I would come back. But there are a few titles that I keep up with pretty regularly.
Yeah. Now, which titles are those that you're sticking with?
I read a lot of Dynamite, actually.
Nice.
And most of the stuff that they come out with, I really like a lot of the retro stuff. A lot of the classic characters they use. Of course, I'm a big John Carter Mars fan, anything Edgar Rice Burroughs. So, and yeah, a lot of those classic characters. So, I do like DC. There are a few things I read here and there. So I just buy a lot of the trades now. I like Flash, Superman, of course, and
nice.
Batman. The usual, the DC characters that most people will say.
Gotcha. The same old. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you though. I mean, now, so you got into comics. You're reading comics as a kid. There's a couple that you stick with, but what inspired you to not just read comics, but then move into creating comics?
It was always something that I really wanted to do. The first time I ever tried to write a comic script, I think I'm maybe like 12 years old, and I wrote an Iron Man script of all things. I was really into Iron Man at the time. It was probably terrible. My mother probably still has it somewhere because, she doesn't throw away things like that. And so yeah, that was my first attempt. Later, some friends and we decided we'd write the script for Ghostbusters 3. That was pretty fun. And then, later on, my friends and I would start just kind of playing around and creating our own comic characters and, just working on our own stuff, having fun.
Nice. Hey, and also just for guys out there, as some of you may know, the YouTube stream booted us on the first attempt. So if you're watching, share this feed, get it out there on Twitter, Facebook. Let's show Wyatt some love, and let's get everyone out there knowing to come to the new link. Again, sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure we get people in since the original link is no good. So, and then Adam, feel free, man. Just come. If anything pops up, you get a question or anything, just jive right into this.
Yeah. We'll be listening to me for 45 minutes, but hey, it happens sometimes.
Hey, from Long Island, that's how it is.
Yeah, you know what I'm interested in, Wyatt, is I know you like Dynamite, and I've heard good things about Nick Barrucci's company. You like his treatment of his treatment versus other companies that have published those characters?
I really do, actually.
Cool.
A lot of the later stuff that they published was pretty faithful to the actual novels.
Nice.
I enjoyed all the John Carter stories, of course. So I like it the more faithful to. They do a good job of being faithful to the setting and the universe, I think.
All right, I'm gonna give you Adam Post's secret. I did used to try to draw when I was a young man. When I was 10 years old, you draw, and then you draw people muscly, all for the superheroes. And if I had stayed with it, maybe I could have been adequate, but I can't draw. But did you get right into just writing, or did you also, have a streak like me where you started with art, and did you ever give it up, or did you work at it? Where are you with drawing?
It's hard drawing, I took some art classes and stuff, through school, and I took maybe an art school after class, art class after school. But, really by the time, even now, by the time it's all said and done, I still, I draw a stick figure and people are like, what is that?
What is that?
What is that supposed to be?
Is that an eraser smudge?
That's a good message.
I do a lot of this,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I tell friends that too. I'm like, look, if people say they like your whatever, and they compliment you, when it's not family, people really hey, that's a really good idea you had. Or, hey, I heard about that thing you're working on, and I liked how that looked, or whatever it is. When people compliment you, that means you got a skill set. When people offer you money for your work, that means you got a skill set. Right now you're publishing this book. People like Ardanna, all right? Mm-hmm. Maybe your mom bought a copy, but other people bought copies too. So you're good at ideas because people are offering you money for it. So if you're not an artist, you're not an artist. But yeah, it's always fascinating to me because you run into people. I'm not an artist. I've hired and worked with a lot of artists. They are artists. They just seem like average people, but magic comes out of your hands, you artist guys. To us who can't who can't draw. I mean, writing, you always figure just about anybody kind of could write. They can't write well.
Yeah, you know what though? I don't agree with that. Not a lot of people can write. I mean, it takes a lot
write badly.
Yeah, but
badly.
Yeah, I know, but there's just like that. There's the stick figure writing, And
Yeah,
then there's the
stick
like, you know what I'm saying?
It's not good. Hey, stick figure writing. We just made something good.
That's what we did right there.
Why? That's for me and Nile. You can't keep that.
I'm gonna trademark that
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. You guys can have that. That's cool.
Let me. Well, yeah, true. We borrowed it from your art, but you can keep the art one.
Yeah.
Can we ask when you decided that you wanted to be a crowdfunding man? Is this your first crowdfunded project?
Yes, this is my first crowdfunded project. We were first working on this book probably, I want to say March or April is probably when we started. It was something that I was gonna do anyway. I didn't really know how I had everything else handled except when I got to some of the aspects of the printing process and, and distribution and things like that. And so, we were already working on it. And so we were definitely going to do the book. And when, I kind of looked around Kickstarter, Indiegogo, those places. And, I actually, met an awesome group of people, a huge community, and, we hit it all off. We all hit it off from the beginning, and
These are Quakers.
yeah. And
comics people who are self-publishing.
Yeah.
Incredibly robust.
Other creators, fans.
I was part of the black and white comics boom back in 1985. So I published my first book, and the only book that I completely wrote, called G.I. Jackrabbits. This refers to stick figure writing, but based on a very cool high concept. But that said, over the years, and now you've been in the game a long time too, a lot of little publishers pop up.
Yeah.
But this is like freaking ridiculous. It's amazing. I mean, in a good way, that there are so many people that are getting passionate and that are just getting together and they're collaborating and they're putting out independent books. It's amazing. I mean, it's not been like this ever before, where, if there are like 200 or 300 people could be working on each putting out their own book. And one of them might do $1,000. Another one might do $25,000. Another one, like Ethan Van Sciver, might do $850,000, or even Doug Tenaple's Earthworm Jim, which
$750,000. Jeez.
Yeah.
But again, though, the tools, man, the tools weren't there like they are today either.
What's interesting is, this is just to me, the direct market is crowdfunding.
Yeah.
What I'm by meaning that like they pre-order, they put numbers together, and then the stores order now only through Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
But it's technology that makes it possible. The direct-to-consumer makes technology. The technology makes it possible to build your own fan base, to get people to know who you are, and to also to be able to collaborate with people. I'm in a little comics group too with self-publishers. It's like 50 people. 50's a lot, and each people, like not everybody's super active, but people have different skills. So I always recommend a printer that Peter Cimetti recommended. These guys, API Productions, he recommended to me. I always put their name out there. I'm not like commissioned or working with them or anything. Just because Peter Cimetti from Alterna has a great reputation of being a great guy, and he knows his stuff. And he said they're a good printer. But the point is, like, we could all really help each other. And it's great to see you doing this book, and you know what your numbers are. If you don't have your printer set, then you ask around or you message me. We'll make sure that you get connected to someone so that everything gets done the way it needs to get done, and your printer's okay. And then you ask people questions about shipping.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of resources that everybody could share.
Yeah,
so this book's gonna.
There's a lot of videos I have up that's got some good stuff on that shit too. Like Anthony Delaney's video. If he's like a printing boutique, as he calls it, but he specializes in comic book printing. He does all the Polito stuff. He does a lot of Tucci stuff.
Oh, really?
He's I think it was episode 26. But he'll print you one book if you want one book printed.
He's a lunatic.
Yeah, he is. He's crazy. No one does that.
He's crazy for comics.
He's crazy for comics, making his own. It's unbelievable.
That's fantastic. All right, so he's a guy, and that's the whole thing. Like Nile just said, he takes care of Brian Polito. Like, oh, all right, he takes care of Brian Polito. He's good.
Right.
The guy takes care of Cimetti. He's good.
Yeah.
Guys don't know. I mean, when we back in the day, like soliciting, publishing, direct market, as I've done, on and off for the last 30 years, it's like there's all sorts of crazy printers running around. There are all sorts of creators running around, and different people, different situations, different expertise, whatever it is. But there was never this kind of collaboration where you could reach out and talk to people. Even just in this conversation, we're promoting Wyatt. Niall's informing all of us. There's people watching us. They're having a good time. We're all getting exposure. I mean, it's not been like this ever. So it's a golden age for comics. There's no question about it.
Oh, definitely, especially for the indie movement. And I mean, Wyatt, I mean, what made you want to go the crowdfunding route?
Like I said earlier, I didn't really have a problem actually figuring out the printing aspects, but my fear, and it'd be a great problem to have, but my fear was like, okay, really, realistically, what if I sold, 5,000 copies?
Yeah.
And, coming up with the funds to print that,
Well, call me. If you have guaranteed money coming in, it's not a risk. That's not a problem. See, this is the thing. Like, even just this conversation tonight. If you're selling to the direct market and you have a guaranteed pre-order, and this is the comic stores through Diamond, it's non-returnable order. That's as good as a check in the bank as long as you can deliver it. Also, Diamond, it depends who the publisher is and if you have a relationship with them, but they can also finance the printing for a fee usually, and they do it as a percentage because they know So if they know they're going to collect money from shipping your books to the stores, they can charge you an interest or a fee out of the revenue that they're going to take in. It's a very expensive way to do it. But printers also have ways of working with you. But
Exactly.
selling a lot of copies, it's never bad as long as it's a guaranteed sale and as long as you did the homework. And you know what? It's not just the printing aspect of understanding how to print it. You got to make sure that if you're going to do 50 copies or 5,000 copies or 15,000 copies, it's with not just a reputable printer, but the right printer for that print run. Because there are guys that are good for 100 copies, but not for 3,500 or 15,000. But most of these books are going to be in the 1,000 to 5,000 range, or maybe shorter than that. But another issue with you is you have different covers, so you need to know, hey, what do you guys charge for different covers? Are you printing those digitally or are you printing those offset? Because it could be more setup costs with some printers versus others. You just ask a ton of questions.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's the right advice right there, Wyatt.
Yep.
Shop around, and then also, have you guys now? This is your first crowdfunding, right?
Yeah.
This is your very first. Yeah. So one thing that I've learned, right, from doing this show, which is pretty interesting, is you always ask everyone, obviously there's the good, there's the bad. What have you learned? If I came to you today and said, I'm going to do my first crowdfunding project and I'm going to launch it tomorrow, what's the first thing I need to know? You know what they say? Shipping.
The first
international shipping. They're like, we lost our shirt.
Shipping. And, the other thing I would say is if your book is already finished, as mine is, don't make your funding goal too high with, the flexible version. Because, you scare people off that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I learned a lot of things once I launched my campaign. And some of them seem so obvious in hindsight. And exactly what you just said is probably the biggest thing that I learned, is because people get nervous if they see that you have a flexible goal that hasn't been reached immediately.
Yep.
If it hasn't been reached within 3 days, you just destroyed the momentum of your campaign. You could be selling the next great book, or you could be selling kind of an unknown book or a wonky book, whatever it is. If that thing does not meet the goal right away, you slow your momentum. It's what I did with College of the Dead. It was a mistake. I did it that way because it seemed like the right thing to do at the time. But in my case, and same as yours, if we do $1 in flexible funding, we're shipping the books. The books are done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no question. And then you can't go into in demand though on Indiegogo unless you hit your goal.
Yeah. That's
so you
true.
have to offer it again or a different way or with the next title.
So yeah, in retrospect, I would have probably just done 1,000, and I would have hit that, in the first 24 hours, and
the algorithm too, Wyatt. It's not just people getting nervous about you delivering. It like they kill you on the algorithm because you go from like being like, oh, released within the last week to like sometimes I could put the title of my book in my iPhone, looking for it in the Indiegogo app, and like it won't even come up. It's like I got to screen down like 6 or 7 other projects. Earthworm Jim. Like Earthworm Jim is at the top. I put College of the Dead. I got Earthworm Jim, and then I got other things. It's not College, So yeah, it's true. Like you really there was a feeling on Kickstarter, and I did 2 small Kickstarters prior to this, that if you didn't put your goal high enough, that people would think that, oh, it's some nutty scam because it's too low and they probably won't deliver and they don't know what they're doing, or a feeling like, oh, well, he doesn't really need my money, so I'll back someone else's campaign that really does need my money. I mean, God only knows, but that's not the way to do it, especially if you're on Indiegogo.
So you got to hit it hard. I mean, you got to slam that social media, like you said. You cannot. The momentum has to be going and going and going. I mean, because dude, you're the marketer. You're the shipping. You're the marketer. You're your editor. You're pretty much everything when you do these things. So when one's not doing the other, you got to keep that thing moving. If your momentum dies, there's a good chance your project could die. You got to get out there and push that. And I shouldn't say die, but it's going to take you may take you 3 weeks to get to your goal where you could have maybe gotten there in a week.
Or basically, once the momentum is slow. Look, it's College of the Dead. It's happened to me. The book is done. It's a great book, very professionally done. It's a great looking book. It's all terrific. But the momentum dropped off. And once the momentum dropped off, you really can't put those pieces back together again. I could go nuts with all sorts of things, but it's kind of like, you know what? Let me take care of the people who took care of me, who backed it. I will go on shows. I will promote it. But I'm not a one-project guy anyway.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, Nile, you guys are not a one-guy show.
No.
You get out there, you do more, and I'm loving being with the community of comic self-publishers more than it's just as much fun as making the book.
Well, that's because it's just, and Wyatt can attest this too. I mean, when you're a creator, you're creating 24/7. You're creating in your sleep. When we're not doing the shows, we're working on books. When we're not working on books, we're thinking of the next project. We're writing notes for the next script. We're doing this, we're doing that. I mean, it's a never-ending process. And like you said, man, this community is phenomenal. Like, I love seeing the support from all the creators out there. Just like, you'll see someone, like I'll see someone for the first time, like, wow, that's really cool. And then what I'm sure most people do, it's like, wow, that looks cool. Let me kind of like research this person. Let me see their profiles. Let me see this. The next, they were on, maybe someone's show or maybe not. But then next, you see something pop up, you support it. And then all of a sudden, everyone starts getting together. And that's why you'll see, like now it's like, it's nice too, because what I'm seeing is like, if I have someone on a show for the first time, it gets them exposure, right? And then next thing you know, next day or so, I see some other people I know, or they'll even say, who was the guy that you had on your show? You think he'll come on my show? Yeah, message him. And now it's almost like all these great creators are getting the kind of tour, the virtual tour, right? On the internet of all these great shows and getting to tell their stories and have different opinions and all this great stuff. And I mean,
network and meet more people.
Exactly. The networking
and Niall,
is great.
Let's just talk about this for a second, because I think people that watch these kind of shows are very passionate about it too, is there's a lot of ways you can support people. First of all, you can see what the goal is on College of the Dead and just write a check. No, you can buy and you should back the projects you're really passionate about. Project that you're passionate about, or that you like, or even that you see the person is passionate. You can retweet it.
Yep.
That supports them.
Just share it, man.
By telling your friends. Thanks to technology. Yep. There's a lot of ways of supporting people. Sharing this show on a regular basis and saying, I was just telling a friend before we came on, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go on the Crowdfunding comic show. Oh, what's that? And I'm telling him what it is. So you talk about the people that you work with, and you're just talking about them, and also just kind of being there for them too. If you know something that they don't know, you tell them. If you can help them, you help them.
Exactly.
If you can, and you just keep those retweets going, make suggestions. That's the other thing you find out about this new crew of creators. They want to hear, even Ethan, who's like really at the top of the mountain with this. And I'll say Tenaple too, because it's rare if I comment on something that Tenaple writes, or if I write a comment, it's rare that he doesn't respond, even if it's with just a like or something like that. Yeah. Ethan responds to people all the time, even though he gets a tremendous amount of feedback. And Billy is so humble and so passionate. My brother in comics, Billy Tucci. No, he's so passionate about what he's doing that he really appreciates and seeks feedback. I mean, this is
energy, man. Sorry to interrupt you, but his energy is so freaking contagious. I go places with this guy, you know, we meet creators and stuff. I mean, I was just watching, and I'll throw his name. Oh, actually, Kyle Ritter says hi, Adam. Kyle Ritter says hi.
Oh, I love Kyle.
And Wyatt, if you do conventions, if you go to conventions or anything, and you see Billy there, talk to him. The guy will pull. He'll tell you to sit down. Come sit down in his booth. You know, he'll be chatting with you. He'll be sketching. The guy can multitask like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that got me launched again was I worked on. I have this project. I have another project that were completely done, bought, paid for, developed, and I spent about 2 years on each of them. And I was getting around. I was going to publish whatever it was, and then I got back in touch in comics, really through the Comics Gate guys, because there's just so much energy, so much passion there. And Billy was on one of the guys' show, was on Ethan's show or something. And I was like, man, Billy was interviewed by Ethan Van Sciver, and Billy mentioned me. So Billy mentioned to Ethan in his interview like a year ago that there was this publisher who turned him down, this company, Triumphant Comics on Long Island. That was my company. That was my brilliant move was, I'm going to turn down Billy Tucci. Don't feel bad. I turned down Joe Linsner, too, before he published Dawn. I know everybody. I've turned down the best. But Billy and I were, like, on Twitter, and I was like, Billy, we got to get together. He's like, yeah. And, Billy's always super busy. And Billy's like, hey, Adam. He reached out to me. He's like, I'm going to be at this show. Not this show. At this store on a signing. Are you going to be around that day? And I had to go out there. And I saw Billy. And to see Billy is to hug him. He's got amazing energy, super passionate. I actually showed him prototypes for my book, and I also showed him some other original art. He's like, this is great. When are you putting this out? And, it's just like, yeah, really. If you run into Billy Tucci, you spend some time with him, and, you're going to be more inspired than you ever been in your life. He's great. Great guy.
He's a great guy. So, Wyatt, who now in the community, and it's funny because some guys are like, I don't call it a community, but I look at it as a sense of just, everyone getting together, creators just being who they are and having fun. Now, as you're growing in this industry, I mean, who are you looking at as some good peers, guys you may want to work with in the future? Has anyone sort of taken you under their wing?
Oh man, the whole community has been incredible. In the few months I've been around, oh gosh, man. I don't know that anyone has necessarily taken me under their wing, so to speak, but this support and, man, it's crazy that I get, you get to this point and, you've got your own, you get to the point you've got your own comic, and, but what's even cooler than that is, and it's really something I didn't really expect, is all the friends I've made in this process. From other creators to supporters to fans. And, I could say, Peter Gilmore, Simon Poitier, Vinny Tartamella, Vic King, and then, the other people I've met, Rogue, Gap, Pan, Adam AF, oh my gosh, Red Gaze, Black Angus, Winger, Moss, Dan Marshall, Frago, Shea. I mean, I could go on and on and on, man, and I'm just having the time of my life.
Micah Curtis is great. It's endless. Professor Geek is like a freaking genius. I always thought, if you know Professor Geek, he has a YouTube channel, and he talks about writing. He's an actual writing professor who specializes in writing superhero archetypes, and he has some links on his YouTube channel, like a playlist, and he talks about Wonder Woman, he talks about Superman, he talks about the Ninja Turtles and relating them to archetypes, which archetypes are common, standard types of characters that are in stories throughout time. And it gives you, as a writer, it gives you a structure of like, well, if you want a devil-may-care character, that's sort of like a Deadpool, but it teaches you how to understand, relate to, and understand this character. So just the wealth of availability for people that are thinking about doing comics now. It's just such a great feeling. I had talked to one guy last night. I was on his show, and known as El Guapo, and he's the guy's a great guy. I mean, it was like some of the best really, like one of the best times I had in the last week, whatever it was. Just great people in this business.
Yeah, it's
We all
yeah,
share
yeah, truly, I'm inspired by everybody around me, man. You know, it's great. So, you know, everyone's been an inspiration. It just pushes me to work that much harder and do that much better and deliver that much better of a product for the customer and for the readers and the fans. And you know, like I said, man, I'm living the dream, as they say.
Yeah.
You know
Now, what's your style of writing? Like, how do you, do you write kind of like do you do yours more like Marvel way, or do you have your own style?
It would probably depend on what genre I'm working with, but for this one in particular, I do typically write full script. With this one, the original plan from a few years ago was I was going to actually do this as a series of fantasy novels. And I outlined a lot, planned a lot, and I wrote probably half of the first one. And you know, I could get verbose with things in a script, but I like to, you don't want too much to get in the way of the art, so to speak. You know, I don't want a bunch of talking heads. If the art explains what needs to be said, then, you know, the words just, the dialogue and the exposition just make it that much better.
Yeah.
This first book's 24 pages, right?
Yeah.
Full color.
Yep.
Now, is it all? If you don't mind me asking, who did the coloring? Because I love the coloring of these pages.
Yeah, it's a guy named Bill Salaberry. We just ran into each other on, actually everyone on this project except for the letterer Eric Withers. We were all put together, I guess, about 2009, and we were going to work on an indie project for another publisher, and a lot of it got done, but it never got published. We got paid, but you know how that goes. It never got published. Yeah, a little while back, I started talking to these guys again and just see what they were up to. And I was like, well, I do have something in mind if you guys want to do something now. So here we are.
Nice. Now, tell us a bit about your campaign. Tell us about the reward levels. Tell us about your stretch goals. I've got your campaign up right now on the screen.
Sure. This is Ardanna number 0. We have 2 covers. There's the standard cover, which is the one where she's on the throne there, and the beach cover there is the variant cover. You can get both of those. Our featured perk is both of those together for $30. Or you can get the standard cover for $15, and you can get the variant for $20. And then you can get both of those with a black and white variant of the standard cover for $50. And then you can get all 3 of those with a virgin cover of the beach variant cover for $75. And then those are a little more bulk. You can get 2 copies of everything there. I believe that's $125.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, or you can get 5 copies of everything for $250.
Oh, excellent.
So these are for people who, you want to get an extra copy. Maybe you want to give it to someone. Maybe you want to sell it on eBay. Maybe you want to hold on to it. So I figured it would be good to have the options there. I like to, give people choices.
Yeah. Now, do you go and market? Now, have you marketed this book to any of your local comic book shops or anything like that?
No, not at this time.
No. Is that something you may think of doing in the future, or you're going to stick to more of just the online?
I may do that. We have quite a number of large shops in the area, so.
You know what's
well,
good
by quite a number, I mean like 4.
The red gaze says Wyatt has really grown in the art of the pitch. he's so proud, or I shouldn't say he, it could be a she, says, I'm so proud.
Thanks, Red.
Red Gaze is old man. He's got a great deep voice.
Yeah, got
But
a great show.
I'll tell you what, for people that self-publish, and Niall's suggestion about the stores is very interesting. The stores like to have a signing event because it's a cool reason. It's something they can promote. And generally, the stores don't need a piece of the action, and they're not going to charge you. You're just going to sit there selling your product directly to whoever comes into the shop. And parents also like it to get a signed comic for a kid. So you can justify charging, whatever it's going to be, $20 for a signed copy, whatever the thing is going to be, but something substantial, because they're getting to actually meet the creator. It doesn't have to be the artist; could just be the creator, could even just be the publisher. But the stores like it. They do events, especially if it's a bigger store. And of course, they may have their own rules, but that's just kind of been in my experience. And there is something about just meeting a fan. We've all been on the other side of it, but it's very cool as a creator to meet a fan who is just like, "Hey, I like this. This is so cool." It's magical. It's great. It's a great perspective. Niall, you've published stuff?
I've worked on stuff. I've have some minor things published, but I'm working on the big project now. Which will be announced soon.
But you've been at conventions and done.
I've been at conventions. Yeah, I've done sketches. So cool. I've taken commissions. And I mean, it's cool. I mean, even not even for nothing. I mean, even this stuff, like the messages you get. I'll just like be all of a sudden, in my office and a thing pops up and it's like, I love what you guys are doing. Like, you have inspired me to create again. And I'm like, me? And it's like directed to me. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. I'm glad because I'm the type of creator that's like, I love doing my art. I love writing. And maybe you guys can attest to this too. And I love processes. I just love like the process of things. I like to see how things are developed. Adam, you and I were talking earlier today, about, character design, processes in general. Like I love to see how things evolve. You
have a cool idea like Wyatt for your next idea, whatever it might be, or you're thinking about tinkering with an idea. Some of my tricks are I will just hire people for character designs and tell them, what I think of some of the characters that are part of a property. If we're going to do something with monsters, well, there's a monster that does this, a monster does that. And then you see what someone else comes back with. And it's so inspiring to see things visualize and come alive. And another thing is a logo, So if you've got an idea for a book that's called Shapeshifter, then you go to someone who is a good logo designer, and you got to pay him. You pay him. They're like, look, I just want something really cool, crazy for Shapeshifter. Once you have a logo done, it exists. It's more than just an idea. Especially if someone else gets to contribute something to it. And a good logo designer is able to do that. They'll give you a couple of roughs and be like, I was thinking of this kind of 80s look, whatever. And 15 minutes later, it's like Shapeshifters is this 80s property set in the 80s. Like this came out of no place. But now it's like, you guys want to develop it? Let's do it.
Yep. That's the thing. And I've been told by many great creators, like, make sure your logo is great. You got to have a great logo.
Well, you know what? I cheat. Here's how I have a great logo. Her name is JJ Jackson. She used to work with Jim Shooter at Valiant 1.0 and then later at Defiant. She's a friend of mine. She's findable on Facebook. I think her website is seriousdesign.com. And when she's available, I can call her up and say, JJ, how you been? How's it going? Like, hey, you know what? I'm dying for one more of your logos. I'm working on this idea. She gives me a fair rate, and then I have something amazing that's really well thought of. And of course, I show it to some friends. We get some feedback and collaborate. But it's just a great way to move forward on a project.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you do it, and it's like, you know what? This does look nice, but I got a passion somewhere else. So then you leave that one and you go on to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Wyatt, how was the whole design process for Ardanna?
Well, it started off with as a lot of things of mine do. It started off with a really terrible sketch that I put together for the artist, and then I usually if I can find something kind of, and it may only be just a piece of something, like maybe, I don't know, say I find some boots I like, for example.
Yeah.
It might be, I might tell the artist, kind of like this, except this. And then sometimes if I don't really have any feasible references, I just have to be really descriptive. And unfortunately, sometimes, it becomes a few paragraphs. But,
Yeah.
sometimes I get back something that was like, I'm like, well, that's way cooler than it looked in my head.
Yeah.
And or sometimes it's not at all what I expected, and I'm like, well, that's awesome anyway, so let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just saw in the chat that I missed somebody really awesome. Mandy Summers, Wart the Wizard. Right now, yeah, I forgot you. Sorry.
Mandy's great.
Got a lot of
we've got Mandy on
one
next
of the
week.
most one of the most awesome, one of the coolest people in this Comicsgate family. She's awesome.
Yeah, we've got her on, I think, on the, what do we have her on, the 25th, Frank? Yeah, we have her on the 25th, I believe.
Cool.
Yeah, talking Wart the Wizard. Then we got Adam next week, too.
Hey,
look who's going to be on next week.
it's going to be good.
With full Speed Tucci.
Full Speed Tucci and half Speed Tucci at the same time.
I don't know if I'm going to have to get a mute button so I can talk a little.
Is that like...
It's just going to be me and Billy. We're going to be like, enough with this guy.
I know, right? I'm just going to be the weird guy in the corner.
Yeah.
So together, are you 75% Speed Tucci?
No, we just operate at different speeds. Sometimes you're looking for fast, sometimes you're looking for slower. But you're always looking for Tucci. You want to be entertained, you want to have fun, you want to be passionate, you want to make comics. You go to Long Island and you get it. I used to have an art studio, a comics art studio. Billy saw it back in the day. Actually, it's on my, I got to plug my YouTube, AdamEveryday.com. It goes to my, actually also halfspeedtucci.com will go to my YouTube channel. It's nuts, but it works. But my first video on there is an interview we did with local news that shows our art studio, and you get to see our 20 art tables and our editors in it, and me with curly long hair, a couple of years younger, back in the day, early 90s. But yeah, I'll tell you what, the community is like never before. I love that Nile, that you and Billy put this show together too. They just kind of bring people together from all over the place.
Yeah, it was weird how it even all happened, man. I don't know if you ever heard how this came to even be, and it was just I was just gonna do this on Monday nights, just go live and just have my friends come on and just explore some Kickstarters and Indiegogos and just see what's happening, what's good, and and then we were at I forget what comic shop we were at for a signing and thing for Zombie Sama. We were doing a Zombie Sama thing, and then we went out after him and I. And I
was
told
it
him
on
about
the
it.
island?
Yeah.
You were late. That was the day I saw Billy.
I was late because I got stuck in freaking traffic. That was horrible. That was horrible. I got there, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was still there. Yeah. He was still there, and a couple of the Long Island comic guys.
Yeah.
Any of those cats? They were there. But yeah, we went after I told him, and all of a sudden his eyes lit up. Like a kid walking into a toy store for the first time, and freaking was like, dude! And he starts going on doing this and that, and he's like, oh, but it's yours. And I was like, well, you want to join me? We could do it together. He's like, oh, yeah, and boom, it just blew up. It was fantastic. And now I got great creators like Wyatt here on the show, I mean, it's freaking phenomenal. So let me ask you guys, before I get into the typical crowdfunding processes and what do you think of this and what do you think of that, I've been talking to a lot of creators on both sides of the fence, right? Guys that are affiliated with this section, affiliated with that section. I mean, what is your take now that you're getting into the industry? What is your take on the comic industry right now as a whole?
You're gonna get Wyatt in trouble?
No, you just talk
as
whatever you want.
As a whole, I think what we are all doing is it's apparently necessary. I think the major publishers are disappointing a lot of people, and I think they're frankly driving a lot of people away. And people who still like comics and still want to read comics and still want to read about, great heroes that are something that, they can aspire to be, that's, even better than me, or, anyone. I think a lot of people miss that. And I think that's what a lot of us are bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm. So where do you see, where do you see, let's say, crowdfunding and then mainstream publishing? I mean, where do you think those are going to fall together? And let me elaborate on this question just a little more. Do you think the bigger publishers are going to try to work their way into the success that a lot of us indie creators are having with crowdfunding?
I think they may try, but it's hard to say. It seems like if what they're doing right now isn't working out for them, I don't see how they could, try to sell the same thing somewhere else and have a different result.
That's actually a really
That's a great answer. Yeah, that is a good point.
Because if they're not going to make good stuff, it doesn't matter how they try to sell it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter where you peddle junk.
Yeah, and what do we mean by good or junk or what? We're not saying like everything is badly executed. No. What we're saying is, when we were kids, we used to be excited to go to the comic store. It wasn't just routine. It was like, we were like, oh, you know what? Wow, what new comics came out? Mom, will you take me to the comic store? We weren't looking for back issues. We weren't trying to like speculate on back issues or anything like that. We were going there because there was new comics coming out every week, and we wanted to be there when the new comics came out. We wanted to make sure we got them, and there was also a time where you could kind of pick up and buy everything that Marvel put out, and it didn't take millions of dollars, and there'd be a reason to, because they were, what you would call, they were thoughtfully produced. It's not just about good, but when you don't have enthusiasm for something as a consumer, you lost the customer, because the world's competitive. Everybody's looking for other things. So you've got that. That's missing. There isn't this feeling from the publishers. It doesn't seem this way, that they're really trying to make people enthusiastic about the comics that they're putting out. Yeah. That's how it feels. And it's sort of the opposite with what's going on with indie publishing, because we're all like, hey, we're crazy for our product. We want you to see this because we want to, sure, everyone's doing it. They want to make money, whatever. But like, you could see, it's like, this is testimony. You can see people, well, you can't see Wyatt, but you can hear it in his voice. Like, we care about what we're doing. We want you to get our books so you can see it and give us feedback, and we'll respond to it.
Yeah.
But it's just not going on at the big companies.
No, it's not. It's not. I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about it, and I was like, it's just, moves were made. Moves were made, and unfortunately, people's livelihoods were kind of taken away or just readjusted, in a way that caused, I don't know, maybe people to act out of character or do what. And, it's not, they're not coming back around, The material is just not that great that's being produced. Like you said, it's not fun. What's that?
What do you mean? Yeah, when you say moves were made, you're saying that decisions were made.
Decisions were made by the to change, to basically protect their image.
You want to hear something controversial, and I'll get in trouble for it, but I will say it because it's true.
Yeah.
When Jim Shooter left Marvel Comics, there was no more editor-in-chief ever again. Everything was like very small-minded editorial. And I could get myself in trouble with saying, because I know people that are like, yeah, F you, Adam, whatever, excuse me. But the thing of it is there was a coherence to the line. There was a Marvel look. There was a Marvel feel. There was an expectation of the Marvel aesthetic when you bought Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Like, you knew what they were going to be. There was a relatively uniform storytelling. There were different artists accomplishing different things, and they were good. And it was consistently good content. But after Shooter left, some genius, strong designers came along, Todd McFarlane most notably one, and because his stuff was so exciting, he revolutionized. He just changed. There was no more Marvel look anymore. You had Todd's look, at Todd McFarlane's look for Spider-Man, like #1, whatnot, and that could have never happened at Shooter's Marvel, which is bad, but in a way, it would have preserved what the Marvel books were and what the continuity was, because that was also done with Spider-Man #1, like the world. I mean, brilliant title, brilliantly executed, incredibly good seller. But the thing of it is at some point you're selling the family jewels, you're selling the family china. You know, what happened to that? Now Perlman came in, the financier who was trying to strip mine the company and whatnot, and that's all well and good, and he did that, and it created problems. But the thing of it is an editor-in-chief sets the tone of what the standards are, what we are doing, and holds people accountable to them. That's what they do. It's not just making stuff that's really, really cool. And at no way would I denigrate the genius of Todd McFarlane. Incredible, incredible work. I just wish that there would have been a way to keep intact what was Marvel as a brand and because if you notice when Shooter went to Valiant 1.0, for people that know what that was in the early 90s, those books had an aesthetic. They had a feel.
Yeah.
In fact,
and Valiant, that's why Valiant was so good while he was there, is because everything fit together so perfectly. And
not just continuity, but Nile, you're an old man like me. I don't know.
No, 49. I'm not.
22 or something. Wyatt, you look like you. Well, all right, I'm older than you guys put together. Whatever. But when we went to get those comics and there was continuity, man, that was another whole aspect of cool. Like real continuity, not like 6 issues of a story or even like a 24-issue run. We're talking about like, I don't know how many they were doing, whatever, 30 comics a month Marvel was doing roughly in the 80s or something like that were all big sellers. And the books were similar in some ways, but all were a little different. I was talking to Mike Barron the other night. We were talking about when his run on Punisher. And his run on Punisher was a crime story.
Oh, yeah.
For 3 years. An excellent, that was the genre. He was part of the Marvel Universe. Yes, there were shared things going on, but it wasn't expected to be a superhero book. And then he had his editor change. And then they started throwing superheroes in there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know for sure, but I believe that was after Shooter's tenure that those sort of things happened. So the thing of it was the continuity was beautiful. And I published Triumphant Comics, which we did 50 color issues. We had 140 characters we created. That's a hard thing to do, to publish color line with continuity. I didn't track the continuity. My publishing partner did. But the long and short of it was, continuity is amazing. You know, I don't know of anybody doing that across titles and across a universe. You know, stories that relate to other stories and stories that build. We see it in the Marvel movies. You know how cool it is in the Marvel movies that, well, up until recently, but, you know, that they built it up over a decade, and things that happened, you know, 7 or 8 years ago are paying off now. Thor was fat, which I thought was very cool. That, all right, well, they showed that Thor is fat, and, you know, but he's depressed. He's supposed to be fat because, like, he's supposed to not be himself. He's stepped out of the world. He's drinking too much. He's eating too much. He's sitting around playing video games. He's not a hero anymore. He's let himself go. And then he redeems himself through his friends, like all of us should do if we're depressed. Any of you guys out there are depressed? Redeem yourself through your friends.
I'm depressed now. I'm freaking 34 years old, bro. Freaking depressed now. Jeez.
I was just...
Son of a gun.
I'm 40. Don't worry about it. You're doing fine. When you hit 40, talk to me. And then you're going to be... No, you're fine. You're good. You're good.
Fucking 46.
But the
what
point
the hell
is
this?
You do it with your friends like Thor did. You start to come out of it. You start to become a person again. You start to do things. But the point is, that's continuity.
Yeah.
That could take years to build up. And that's what it used to be. On paper, Marvel used to do that, and you had people that really, really cared about the craft. And the other thing, just as I know I'm going on over here, but I'm concerned about mentoring. All right, anybody who's 40 years plus, who's making a living in comics, you are responsible to mentor. I'm telling you, I do what I can, and I don't know that much, so I just talk for a lot, and I say this stuff I know. But artists and whatnot, look, don't just cash the checks, and I know it's not like a lot of rich people running around in comics, but really try to mentor. That's how we learn, is other people took time with us. It's our time to give back, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, now
I agree 100% because I know I've become friends with a lot of the great artists out there, guys that created some of the biggest characters, that we know about, and they're constantly teaching me. Every conversation.
You're very mysterious. You got to drop a name every now and then. I will drop a name first.
For me, growing up in the '90s, I was a huge Batman, so I'm honored to have Graham Nolan as a good friend.
Right,
Chuck Dixon. Talking to them. I mean, when I talk to them, they tell me stories, but more importantly, they're telling me how to do things or how to do things better than they do it.
Dude, when you hit 40, you'll start to feel it. By 45, it's like start to become possessed. It's like we have to start passing along knowledge. For people that are a little older, like that, you're in your 40s, if you're not really feeling right creatively, like explore it, because part of it is you are supposed to be passing along knowledge. We all are is supposed to help everybody we can at everybody level. And young people, being passionate is great. You need to learn basics. If you're an artist, it's basics of anatomy. If you're a writer, it's basics of writing. How are you going to learn these things? Ask older people that you respect. You can get just about anybody on Twitter now. Hey, give me a recommendation. I was talking to Mike Barron the other night. I was like, Mike, if I'm a writer and I want to start to learn to write, what book would you recommend? And I say that because, for years I was involved in creating characters and stories and comics, and I wasn't schooled in it, and you don't have to go to school, but it was very helpful to me to read a book called Story by Robert McKee. And Mike Barron said, you know what, that's not such a great book. For him, he's like, I got through a third of it. He's like, too complicated. He didn't like it. He likes a book called Elements of Style. And then, he's like, you could read it in an hour. I don't know what that means even. It's probably more than an hour, but like very straightforward and very educational. Yeah. And then he had another tip, which is like, if you're going to be a writer, you should really write something every day. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, write every day. And you try to be polite. I'm like, no. You don't understand. Because as creative people, we beat ourselves up sometimes. I don't know if you guys ever feel like this.
Oh, yeah.
But we feel like, I should be doing more. I'm like, Mike, people are going to beat themselves up. So after badgering him, no pun intended. Get it? He created a book.
Yes.
Hey! We got to a nexus of sorts. No. But after badgering him, we got to like, hey, Adam, what I mean is, if you write a sentence a day, that's okay. If you can write more, write more. He said, also specific, take a pad and a pen with you. If you get an idea, always have it. Now, you could do it, obviously, with your phone, whatever, your device. But if you get an idea, you can write it down. That counts, too. And don't – it's fun. I did it for years. I threw those ideas away.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm just going to call out my friend's name, Kirk Lindo, who was my editor back on the Personality Comics days, with friends to this day. You got to have him on this show, by the way. Kirk, I'll connect the two of you. He does Luxura. He's a friend of Billy's and Vampirotica. And he's doing crowdfunding.
Oh, yeah, let's get him on. Yeah.
It's just kind of part of his life. He's got a lot of things going on. But the long and the short of it is Kirk was like, listen, Adam, let me just tell you, you got to just write your ideas down. Don't. So that's the message to everybody. Is like Kirk's wisdom. Yeah. And I have lost 20 years worth of ideas not doing
That's what Palmiotti told me, too, when I was talking to him. When we were talking about writing and stuff. Because, I mean, he writes, he draws, him and Amanda. I mean, you know what they've done. And, he told me, he's like, you just got to kind of write every day. You got to write every day. Yep. You got to write every day.
Absolutely.
You got to draw every day. Even if
you got to write. You got to write something. It doesn't matter if you're gonna keep it, if you're gonna use it for anything. And another thing about mentoring is I can't really speak for comics, but I can speak for my day job. And as far as mentoring, something I find is sometimes I don't know how much I remember about something or know about something until I'm explaining it to someone else. Mm-hmm. And then I have my own, Mr. Miyagi moment. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. I remember far more about this than I thought I did. And, and then I get inspired again because,
you realize you actually know stuff.
Yeah, like, the memories come back and the rush comes back. And, that's what I found.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with being proud at what you're good at. You know, very few of us are. Nobody's good at everything, but most of us are good at some things that we're passionate about, that we have some experience with, and hopefully we paid for. You know, so though if you really narrow it to those kinds of things, you can have confidence about being good at those things and just do those things.
Yeah. And, you know, great leaders too. I mean, they mentor and teach without even, you know, they don't want anything in return. They don't want anything at all. They just naturally, you know, and that's leading, you know, whether you realize it or not. You know, I'll toot my own horn. I'm a leader. Every employee or anyone that I've had below me, I mentor them. I mentor guys twice my age. You know, I've got guys that are in their late 50s and 60s that look at me as a mentor because the way I handle myself, how I compose myself, how I handle the situations of running the companies that we do. And, you know, it's natural in you. And one thing I've noticed really in the community, I mean, Adam, yourself, Wyatt, I mean, I can tell by the way you talk, you guys are leaders, you know. You're not following anyone, you know, and you
Right.
drum to your own beat and you do your own thing. You know, and that's actually what also I've noticed with creators is most creators, they're go-getters,
Driven.
they're leaders, you know, they're driven.
Because if you're not driven, you really can't
You're
do
not.
something. If you're not driven, you shouldn't be driving a crowdfunding project, really. You know, somebody should. You could do it with someone else who's always. And I've seen this. You see some guys who are like, the writer is really driven, or the artist is really driven. The writer isn't. They're not comfortable talking, whatever it is. But someone's got to put the time into like being out there and talking and talking and talking and talking. And Wyatt, coincidentally, you and I were on a show last Saturday, just this past Saturday together. So when Nile called me and was like, "Hey, half Speed Tucci, could you fill in for full Speed Tucci?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Why?" Like, "Yeah, I know Wyatt already." Just because you're out there and you're constantly doing stuff. So basically, you just have to be driven. And basically, you either have to, like they say in the Marines, I think it is, lead, follow, or get out of the way. You know, if you find someone that you can follow with things, then you follow with them. But if not, you got to be driven. You make it happen yourself. But the resources people don't know. The resources have never been there before. Like with crowd, you know, you want to offer a book to Diamond, you can offer a book to Diamond. They'll look at anything. Boy, you got to jump through some hoops.
Yeah.
Boy, you got to jump through some hoops.
Well, think about it, right? You crowdfund, okay? You know, say you do invest in your book, right? You're paying for all this stuff to get your book done, and then you got to pay to have a bunch of prints done. Then you go through all those hoops, like you're saying, to go through Diamond, right? And then you get your book through there, and they start getting some orders. They distribute it out, and then you start getting, you know, let's say your agreement gets you $1 a book, right? You sell 1,000 books at you know, and it comes back, you get 1,000 bucks. Let's just say, right? But it varies. It varies.
Economics really don't work for direct market publishing. A company like Dynamite exists because Nick Barucci is a genius hustler in a positive way. And Nick was selling stuff on QVC. He was selling Alex Ross Marvel prints, making money like, you know, 20 years ago, whatever. He's brilliant. He has his own direct-to-consumer customers because he has a mail-order business through Dynamite Entertainment, you know, one of their sister company for limited edition stuff. He knows what to do with the multiple covers. He's been networking for decades. So, you know, people are in unique situations.
Let me just cut back into this though. But the point I'm getting to is, so you got 1,000 people that just bought your book through distributor. And I'm not knocking Diamond. I mean, if you're popular and things are going, go that route and you can make a boatload, you know. But you then now take 1,000 backers. I've seen campaigns hit 6 figures with 1,000 backers. You know, with certain levels they've had or whatnot, you know, and they've gone up there.
That's it. All right. So the crowdfunding versus direct market sales to comic stores. So you had Brian Polito on. I think it was even your first show.
Our first show. Yep.
All right. So what Brian has been doing with Lady Death, which is his first love. Maybe a book I turned down, maybe not. It probably was. I've turned down anything good. I've turned it down as an independent publisher back in the past. So yes, probably. So he'll sell and promote through Kickstarter, direct to consumer, through crowdfunding, just selling to the end customer. But then he will also collect the books or break them up into single issues, whatever he's doing. He will sell them back to comic stores through Diamond. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, there are people You know who you maybe want to get on the show, and I know this guy very well, Mark Smith from Sullivan Sluggers. Do you know what that campaign was? Mark was one of the first people, if not the first people, I think the first guy, to have a big campaign. It's about 150 grand back in the day, maybe 6 or 7 years ago on Kickstarter. It was a zombie horror book by the artist who did Godzilla, and it was like 200 pages, oversized color book. Did a huge business, and was like one of the first hits to sell a direct like product, not just help me get my comic book colored, and then you really didn't get a book. Yeah, Mark, you really ought to talk to Mark Smith. I will get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Connect you guys. But anyways, so what Brian is doing that's brilliant is he's using crowdfunding. He's making his money on crowdfunding, and then he's also going back to comic stores.
Oh, yeah.
And then because he's got enough popularity, he can make money selling to the comic stores. It's non-returnable cash orders, but he's also promoting his character through a whole other outlet, right? Because there are people that go on to crowdfunding that you'll never get going to comic book stores. And people, when you sell thousands and thousands of copies of something, it's a good thing. Now, with the other advantage, though, with crowdfunding is you can get scalable support. A scalable support meaning when we were back in the day, I'm soliciting a comic at $2.99 and maybe a signed or a trading card limited edition version for another $5.95 for a second issue or something like that. You get some extra revenue. But if somebody comes across a book that they're passionate about, or you get a fan who's passionate about wanting to help you, who's just like, listen, I like this idea. I want to spend, I'm willing to spend $500 to support this guy who's making Ardanna, or $500 who's making She or College of the Dead. You know, oh, you guys have the original cover or original piece of art. There's no way to access that business potential to do that transaction without direct to consumer. You can't put original artwork at any price to go through a distributor to then be offered to a retailer. Similarly, like I don't know, you're not doing this, but we're doing an ashcan version that's like $25 of our graphic novel. It's also $25. It's got the full script and layouts. You can't get access to higher price ticket items to get that scalable support of either at the lowest level or a mid-level or a high level. You certainly can't change what you're offering. Yeah, so you don't have that. So a loyal fan might be able to, in a comic store, spend like $5 to support you, maybe 10 on a limited edition. But a loyal fan can look at the progress of your campaign, and if they need to come up with $100 to help you make something happen, help make it happen. We've all seen that from Indiegogo. But if they're going to spend $100 or $200, they can if they want to. And a high percentage of it goes directly to you as opposed to the distributor cut.
Yep.
So you build yourself a following. Like, I would love to see Cyberfrog offered in comic stores if that's what Ethan wants to do with his property, to just expose the property to more audience. And those audience can then discover his character and other characters on Android. And then when he does his next crowdfund, or they go on Twitter, they find him, he does another crowdfunding, he promotes it, and then all of a sudden he's got more people going to his crowdfunding. Because you know that Brian Pulido brilliantly is building crowdfunding audience from his direct market sales into comic stores. You're following what I'm saying? Yeah. So the more places we can be, the better. As long as, if we make a promise to fans, this is only available directly through crowdfunding.
Correct.
And you got to keep your promise. You don't violate your promise. But think about it before you make that promise, because people don't care, I don't think, that much. Unless, if it's a special edition, you don't sell a special. So maybe it's a special cover or something like that. You don't violate that promise, obviously. But it's worth saying.
Yes. No, that's a good point. It is a good point. And I mean, Wyatt, where's the future for crowdfunding for you? I mean, after Ardanna.
Oh man, I've certainly got the next one planned, and I have a couple other projects in the works. Also, a couple of people have asked me to work with them on some of their stuff, and so it's looking like it's about to be busy, even busier than now.
Oh, very cool, man. Very cool. I mean, this is great. Now, with Ardanna going on, right? you've got a couple. Do you have any more shows lined up they're going to be attending to get on to spread the word? Anything you want to plug?
Sure. You have a YouTube channel?
What's that?
Sorry, you have a YouTube channel also?
Yeah, I don't have any videos on there yet, but yeah, I'll probably be putting some things on there soon. No, I don't have anything. I'm gonna, I pop on some of the other shows, like Art City Comics and a show called Doodle and Chill that I go on. But I don't, as far as anything else goes, no, I don't really have anything lined up.
All right, we should hustle around. Ask Jason about that StarCaps Network guy. He's a great guy.
Oh, yeah, I've done an interview with him. Yeah, I've been everywhere. I think I've been everywhere that I can be so far, man. Yeah. So, if you got a stream out there and you want to have me on, just let me know.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we're more than happy to have you back on, too, with any other projects or whatever that you have going on. So, guys, I mean, hey, I know you got a lot of your fans and stuff in the chat right now. They're all, cheering you on and supporting you. Anyone out there that's new to Wyatt's work, I mean, make sure you get out there and, share his Indiegogo, back his Indiegogo. Anything you guys can do to help spread the word and get this to 100% funded. Then you can get into In Demand and all these other great features. The artwork's great. Again, I mean, this is just an awesome. Now let me ask you a question. I'm a huge fan of crowdfunding videos, like the intro video to sell your thing. So I have to ask, what made you decide not to do a little video for your Indiegogo campaign?
It wasn't really so much a conscious decision as it was, time played a factor,
Yeah.
And because when I promised the day it was going to launch, we were going to launch that day,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So and I thought, I couldn't really gauge how much a video really would help. Would it really be the difference maker in the end?
Yeah.
I am a fan of them. I like them. Like I say, time was a factor, and I'd rather put that time into the product than a video.
Yeah. That makes sense, man. It does make sense, I just love the videos. I don't know. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I do too, man. I had some really cool ideas. Might still do them.
Yeah.
You can add one. You can still add one, especially if it's a trailer for the property. You can use it in different places.
Yeah, because I'm probably gonna do one. We're just
it's always a mistake. Look, when I did College of the Dead, that was one of the mistakes. I have like a whole list of mistakes. That was one. That was one of the major mistakes that I made. Yeah, you really a video is good. People don't even want to always watch it. They just want to know that it's there. They might watch 4 seconds of it and be like, oh, yeah, he's got the video. His tears seem reasonable. It's like a checklist. It's like, because if you don't have it, even if the art, like Kyle Ritter colored my cover, he did a gorgeous job on it. But there wasn't a video. I did later add a video of me talking about the property, but it's not the same. And truth be told, I reached out to the guy who did Billy Tucci's Zombie Sama video and asked him if he would do the video, and he said, "Yeah, just reach out to me." And I didn't follow up. And that's unforgivable. And you get to pay the price. It's thousands of dollars of sales, really.
Yeah.
It's Nile, and he would have done it for a reasonable fee. He's a good guy.
For free, I would have done it for free for you. Jeez,
I didn't even know that. All right,
unbelievable.
I got a favor I got to ask.
But I'm on top now, man. I'm on top. Look, I've got green screen, bro. I'm expensive now.
Yeah.
Once you got green screen, man, there ain't no turning back.
Well, I'll be sending you a DM then, Mr. Expensive.
Hey, man, if you need a hand with a video or anything, give me a shout. And it's funny you're actually bringing that up because, Adam, when I went to reach out with you, because normally I chat with you on Twitter through Crowdfunding Comics, so I went on my personal, and I forgot I was on it, and I saw that in there. I was like, oh, that's the guy who asked me about that. Yeah,
because your Zombie Sama video was awesome. And you basically, Billy didn't have to do anything for it. It's like you had logo, you had some art, you added music. It was good pacing. It was fun. It represented the property well. Anybody that looked at that to see if it was a real project, like, yeah, of course it's a real project. It looks good.
Yeah, no, that's fun. That's fun stuff. But so let me ask you, Wyatt. Now that you're doing your first crowdfunding, I mean, what are you learning about this process? I mean, have you, what are you finding easy, and what are you finding to be the most challenging so far?
I think I find the writing aspect of the comic to be the easiest thing. As far as the most challenging, it's really just getting the eyes. In any kind of publishing venture, discoverability is always your biggest challenge. So it's really just getting eyeballs on the product, getting out there, and getting, making sure, is known by as many people as possible. So,
yeah.
Plus the video is hard.
The video is freaking hard, nah. But so how are you going to?
Like, you know what? The
What's
video is
that?
worth it. I was just saying the video is worth it.
It's worth it. It's a lot of freaking work, though. I mean, shit. Tucci's video, I think that's probably about. I think once it was finally done with all the editing and everything, that was probably about 23 hours.
All right, that's a little scary.
That's about 23 hours. But it's fun stuff. It's fun stuff. Yeah, if you ever need anything, anyone out there, if you guys have any questions on the video editing process or anything like that, feel free to shoot me a message on Twitter. My rates are really expensive, but it's worth it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
$1,000 an hour, right? Because I got green screen.
Send them an invoice.
I got green screen.
Throw it out.
Nah. But seriously, if you guys ever have any questions, hit me up. I'll help you out if I can. And again, it's that whole community thing. We just help each other out.
Something? I have a question that's kind of an interesting topic we didn't touch on yet, and we covered a lot of cool stuff. So one of the things I'm thinking about is what Billy did with Zombie Sama, which was he started on one crowdfunding platform, had whatever success he had, and then went on to another crowdfunding platform with the same project, essentially.
Yeah, which you can do. Now, here's my thing, right? You've got...
What's your caveat?
Here's my thought on this process, right? Cool. So you've got your everything. You're a Ford guy, you're a Chevy guy. You're a DC guy, you're a Marvel guy. Everyone has everything. Then you have Kickstarter, and then you have Indiegogo. And I kind of did favor a side, right? I favored Kickstarter. I think a lot of people, when they would have gotten into it, many years back, maybe 6 years ago or so, started getting into this stuff, everything was Kickstarter. Indiegogo came up, and it was like, all right, yeah, some things are coming up here and there. And then, Billy's like, hey, I'm going to go for it. And he went for it, and he did it. And, it worked out pretty well for him. But one thing I did notice, right, is that both sites are actually very similar, right?
Yeah.
You can choose to pick a political reason why you won't use one or the other. But at the end of the day, the ratio of the successful properties are almost identical. From what you have successful and what you don't.
The whole thing that Billy innovated with, maybe inadvertently, is
it's business.
He made his money on one.
Yeah.
And then he made his money on the other one. So let's say, what's the goal of Ardanna? What's the financial goal, Wyatt?
3,500.
Yeah, it's 3,500.
All right, we got you breaking up there a bit, Adam.
Sorry, I do not know why. All right, Wyatt, what's the goal on Ardanna?
3,500.
Okay. So if you do your 3,500 on Indiegogo, what's to stop you from maybe doing a new cover and offering it on Kickstarter with a $500 goal and seeing if you can do another $3,000 or $4,000 on that?
I don't suppose there would be anything stopping you.
No, there isn't. You know what? The good point that Billy did make about this, and me and him have talked about a lot of stuff, is you got to remember, at the end of the day, this is a business. This is a business. So you want to sell as much as you can wherever you can. And that's his thing. It's like, I did Kickstarter, and I'm being told about Indiegogo. And he's like, F it. You know what? This is a business. At the end of the day, this is a business. This is how he lives. So he did it, and he reached a great new audience that, he thanks God every day for it. He loves all the new fans he has. But he did discover, there's people that'll only purchase from Kickstarter, and there's people that only purchase from Indiegogo. And there's even some amazing fans out there that will support both.
They're
is
both
Indiegogo
campaigns.
and the Indiegogo, you know, because you offer
That goes
slightly
to the,
different
that
things.
goes to the scalable point where it's
Yeah.
just like, I bought Zombie Sama. I have enough zombies. Like I have my own zombies, and it looked cool. Yes, I was taken in by the brilliant video,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond that, Billy Tucci is who doesn't love. So anything Billy does, I want to support.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have people that love you, and that's the idea of why crowdfunding is so cool, because they can love you as much as they can spend, not just $5 or $10 like in a retail store, but literally up to 500 or 1,000 or 2,000, whatever they can afford at the time they get excited about. But I guess what we're getting around to is forgetting all the political whatever. If you can make money in both places, there's no reason to not do it.
Yeah, I said to any creator, take the blinders off. If you have blinders on and you think you need to stick in one direction, take them off for a little bit. Look around and just see what you can do, because it's a business. You know, if you want to do it full time, if you want to be a professional creator, then you really need to know what all your markets are.
Yeah, or if you just like money, I mean,
if you like money, cocaine, alcohol, whatever, I mean, you got to do something.
But if you have 35, if you make your goal, you have an attractive looking campaign. So you could put essentially the same campaign right up on Kickstarter. I don't know if I think they have some sort of rule. Technically, you're not supposed to, but whatever. If they bounce it off, then come back with a slightly different graphic or with a new cover or something. I think Billy did a different cover, but it was all the same content. Yeah. But Wyatt, you have some experience with production, so that's trivial for you to do. Maybe have a friend work on a video for the Kickstarter one. But the point is, you could really it's not anti Comicsgate, pro any anti whatever. You go to Indiegogo, because a lot of our friends, that you're in a group, I think we're in some of the same groups and stuff, like they're passionate about Indiegogo. We go to Indiegogo. They're not mad at us for then going to Kickstarter raising money. Billy did it. Billy did it in both places. Billy's going to be releasing She, I think, next month, right?
Is it next? Yeah, I think next month. Yeah, August.
Maybe we should ask him. We can start talking about it, telling people. Be like, hey, Billy, aren't you doing She or something? Yeah, so it's like his life's dream. He's bringing She back. But the point is, I don't know if he's going to do on both platforms or what he's going to do. I don't know.
He's going to start it off on. He's going to start off on Indiegogo, and I think he will launch another version on Kickstarter.
Good.
I would be. It would be cuckoo, because there are people that are like, yeah, they want to support you, but maybe they just go to Kickstarter. For years, I only went to Kickstarter. I backed like 150 projects or something like that, and learned a lot, got a lot of books in, and a lot never came, and that's like that. That's why you want to know the creator, like someone like Wyatt, and what I'm doing, like Billy. We're into delivering, deliver. So we want to see if you're backing people. Are they serious? And are they good guys? But also, like, are they competent to be able to deliver the product that they're promising? Because it's not like the money is that big a deal. People feel stupid when they don't get the thing that they want, and nobody needs to feel stupid. So,
and nothing should take over. I mean, it really it's great to have that book almost done, or done, when you're launching or close to it. Because I mean, I'm still waiting. I am still waiting for some books, and it's going on 2 years.
Oh, I backed some stuff. Oh. I'm excited to see it when it eventually comes out. I forget, and then every couple of years I remember that I backed it, and it never came out.
Yeah.
And there's some serious shamelessness about that. I don't feel stupid. I think I'm very I don't know. I'm confident or assertive or something. But I don't feel stupid. I just like the guy's.
I just forget. So I don't even feel stupid. I just forget, and then one day I'll come home and I'm like, what is this? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, what the heck is it? Who's this? Who's this guy?
I backed this in 2014.
Yeah, right? And then it's like, oh, shit. You go on the computer, you look at it, and you're like, yeah, I backed this in 2016, and it's 2019. I'm like, oh, wow.
But that's
and then I don't even read it. I'm like,
at least with the circles that me and Wyatt run in, you got to die to not get the book. Like James Hundnell passed away, who was very sad, and he was helping me with a little bit of College of the Dead towards the end of his life, and a little bit of my redo for G.I. Jackrabbits, which I'm actually really excited about. We have a phenomenal story he helped me figure out. But he passed away, and his campaign can't ship. It couldn't get done. It's a problem. But that's what if you're running with, like, a lot of the Indiegogos, I don't know, the guys seem very serious about getting the books out and making sure that they ship. And a lot of us as a community, we're also talking, and trying to figure out, is there a way we can help Matt get the book out. And the issues seem to be too far gone from what I heard, and it's just like it couldn't come out.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes to stop God can stop an Indiegogo creator. Beyond that, you really can't. You can't stop them.
Yeah.
They're gonna put the books out.
Yeah. So guys,
a lot of good guys on Kickstarter too, but there is some weird stuff. There's some weird old projects that were good projects that never shipped from there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of weird projects going on right now. No, I'm just joking. Like this Wyatt guy's stuff. Jeez.
Ardanna. So Ardanna's a good book. What do you recommend on the tiers? Like someone wants to buy Ardanna and be like, listen, I think this is cool. I want to check it out. I'm not like bizarre about like I have to have every cover, but like I'd like to have like at least 2 covers. What do they have to pay to get that?
Yeah, I would just go with the featured tier on that. You'll get the standard cover and the variant, and that's $30. And if you're in the United States, shipping's $10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And so then you'll have 2 copies.
When is that? And when are you planning on shipping? What
October.
month? Cool. Very cool.
Nice.
That's
good. That's like the perfect amount of time between the ending and receiving your book. That's great.
Yeah, we're like I said, everything's finished except a little bit of the lettering.
Yeah.
And we'll be ready to go. We may
everything.
Awesome.
We may extend or something like that, or after funding we may go in demand. But regardless, it's still October. Mm-hmm. So
that's fantastic.
Right in time for the holidays, everyone. Get a copy of Ardanna.
Yeah, you guys. Everybody has to be a little concerned about books that are supposed to be shipping in December, because it doesn't mean that the creators aren't responsible. It's just that maybe they don't have experience. But between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's like 500% extra load on the mailing systems. So everything is late and stuff gets lost. So for any publishers out there, don't be shipping stuff after Thanksgiving before Christmas. Don't do it. Really go to the 1st of January and let people know, and don't try to be cute and do media mail, which is publication rate during Christmas holiday. Like it's not like you can't do it, right? You've been there, Wyatt. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I was just gonna say you definitely don't need to schedule your campaign to end between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah. No, people got other stuff going on.
Don't do that.
It's not a good time to start one either.
No,
because people don't have the funds for it.
Yeah, but really, just like it's a force of nature. Like it's hot in the summer in most places.
Yeah.
You do not try to mail during that month because there's just so much mail getting pushed through the system. Mm-hmm. That's all.
Yeah. So hey guys, we've been on for about an hour and a half. I'd love to actually get a chance, and Wyatt, I hope you don't mind. While I've got Adam on, I'd like to just kind of do a shout out to his Indiegogo, and then we also have our crowdfunding call out tonight. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to head back over to our desktop, and I just want to show you guys Adam Post College of the Dead. I'm going to play the video for you guys. Now for you, Adam and Wyatt, you won't hear any audio, but our fans will. So I'm going to play that for the viewers out there.
Nice.
Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, 30-year veteran of publishing comic books and creating characters and stories. And this is my passion project, Adam Post's College of the Dead. Teachers and students fight for their lives as the dead eat each other and everyone else in sight. It's 140 pages. All the art's completed, and all books will be delivered before Halloween, October 2019. Check out College of the Dead. Look at the pages. Look at the art. You will love it.
We will love it.
You will love it.
We will love it.
You will love it.
All right. So you have 9 days left. You're looking for a goal of 5,000. You're at 27%. So we got to get this baby cranking.
Yeah, you got to talk to Billy or something. And I may have to break the Ethan glass on this one and waste one of his nights talking about College of the Dead all night. And Ethan was very generous. And I've been on Comicsgate Live, and it was great.
He's a good guy.
Like we said before, and I've changed it. It's a 140-page graphic novel. All the pages are done. Everything is laid out. It's a zombie apocalypse on a college campus. So they're a group of teachers and students that are dealing with the zombies attacking them and figuring out how to get away, and professors that are nice and trying to help, and professors that are overwhelmed with fear, and then professors that are also kind of being kind of cruel and manipulating the students to get their own way out at the expense of the students. The characters are very well developed. Just about everybody who goes through like the prototype is like, wow, is this a movie? Or is this it's like I did it in mind that it would just be a really well written zombie story with horror. There is a little bit of humor in it. And the pacing is really good. And there's now enough sample pages that you can kind of read it and really get a feel for what it's like to go through the book right there on the listing. So it's 140 pages. It's black and white. It's written by a guy named Stefan Petrucca, who is an experienced comics writer. He actually worked with Charlie Adlard on, I think, about 100 issues of the X-Files. He wrote a Deadpool book called Pause for Marvel. He's done work for so many comics publishers. And he has a special niche in supernatural and horror. And he was great to work with on the development for the book, just brilliant to work with, super professional, and did a phenomenal job. The characters, it just like same thing with art. It's just art and writing executed so professionally, so well. It's just impressive for me every time making these comics to see this stuff come together. Mm-hmm. With the tiers of the book, what I decided to do was, as we were putting the book together, Stefan's full script was just educational and excellent. I learned stuff reading it as he was delivering it. And the artist, Javier Aranda, would do pencil rough layouts. So we would have full script come in. We'd get pencil layouts out of Javier. Stefan would check them. I would look at them. Essentially, if Stefan was happy, I was happy because he's meticulous and brilliant. But at the end of the project, I was like, oh my God, I have all of these really cool pencil layouts. I think the process of making the comics is just so interesting. So I worked with my graphic designer to put together the Ashcan book, which is 100 pages. It has some additional character designs in there, but it's 99% of it is full script and then the corresponding layouts. So you can really see how the book gets put together and the book gets made. It's really interesting, and it's a very cool book. But this making of part of the book in the Ashcan form, is really excellent and educational.
Oh, very good, man. And then we'll also get into a lot more of that when we have you on the show next week, back with Full Speed Tucci.
Full Speed Tucci and Half Speed.
Tucci.
It's going to be awesome.
And then, guys, we've got our crowdfunding call out tonight. This one brought to us by our assistant producer, Frank Amazing. Nice. Undead Row graphic novel. I'm going to play the video for you guys to check it out. was something. Very cool.
That was interesting.
That was very cool. So yeah, guys, check out Undead Row. 16 days left. They're at 45%. But make sure you back Wyatt Holliday first. And then since it's his show, it's Wyatt's show, he's first. And then if you got a couple extra pennies, swing over to College of the Dead for Mr. Adam Post. But he'll be back on next week, and we'll highlight him some more. Wyatt, man, I really appreciate you coming on, dude. It's been awesome. Had a great time. I loved hearing about your journey into comics and what you're doing and what you have coming on. And I actually, as I do these shows and I meet people and see things, I take notes and I come up for other ideas for shows. And what I'm doing is I actually have a list of my guests who are first-time crowdfunders, who are doing their first campaigns. I'd love to get like a virtual panel together and maybe have about four to five of you creators and highlight you and just talk about your experiences. So, once everyone's first book is actually shipped out, just talk the good, the bad, the ugly, what you guys would do different, what do you want to do, and just have a nice, fun, let's, the virgin crowdfunders, like a whole follow-up thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're down for that, I'd love to have your name on the list here.
Oh, yeah, I'm down.
All right, awesome. And Adam, man, thanks for filling in tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been great. Our fans have been great out there, and guys, we've got so many great things lined up. Tomorrow night we have the man himself, Mr. Cesar Feliciano, is going to be coming on. I have a special guest host tomorrow night, Mr. Ethan Van Sciver, good friend of mine and Billy's. As many of you guys know, he's a great guy. Done a lot to help a lot of creators out there. I was chatting with him and just said, hey, this is probably going to be my week. And he said, hey, I'm open Wednesday if you need something. And here we are. So tomorrow night, Mr. Cesar Feliciano, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my guest co-host, Mr. Ethan Van Sciver. So everyone, thanks again. We appreciate it. Wyatt, how can everyone follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm _ Wyatt Holliday, and that's 2 L's in Holiday. And yeah, like I say, I have the YouTube channel, but there's really not anything there yet. So
there will be, though. So everyone subscribe to his channel. And if you guys haven't, please subscribe to Crowdfunding Comics. Spread the word. Share this episode for people that may be working third shift or what have you. Let's get Wyatt's work out there and let's get him funded. That's what we do. We help each other out, and we spread good projects like this.
Absolutely.
All right.
And to find me, halfspeedtucci.com.
halfspeedtucci.com. And subscribe to Adam. What's your YouTube channels again?
Straight up, it really is halfspeedtucci.com as well as adameveryday.com. It'll get you there. And my Twitter is Comics We Love, @ComicsWeLove.
Awesome. And guys, again, we're going to have Adam Post on next week. Also, we have Mandy Summers in the chat. She'll be on next week as well. And we'll announce our third guest for next week. You'll see that up on Twitter.
We have to figure out how we're going to promote Kyle Ritter's Starblades launching on July 22nd. Yep. It's an amazing looking project. And Kyle is deaf, and he does not speak. He makes a lot of fun expressions on video channels, and he's fantastic. But I don't think we've worked out the technology. But I always told Kyle, and it'd be up to you if you wanted to do it. I could talk about Starblades all day, So any day, anytime. And there are other friends that he has, and of course Ethan's going to support him too. But we should all be able to show what we can do for people that can't talk for themselves.
Well, again, if you guys got projects going on, email Crowdfunding Comics. Let us take a look at what you have going on, and we will do what we can to help promote it. We can't get everyone on the show, and that's why we do the crowdfunding call out, because there's just not enough. There's only so many days in the week that we can do this, and we literally are now getting 10 to 12 requests a day inundated. So we try to pick the ones we can get on here.
You guys have been fantastic. You've helped a lot of people out, and you've really shown the way for a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's been a good time.
Yiddish, Jewish, we call it a mitzvah. It's good stuff.
There you go.
All right, guys, have a great night. Thanks so much for having me, and why it's great to back Ardanna.
Yes, back Ardanna, everyone. Yep. Share it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.